Hello everyone, this is Esper and we're back here on the Great Ace Chronicles. Hello everyone, hello, and I'm just gonna tell you straight up, I seem to be having issue with every time I play this. It ends up messing up my throat and hard to play it again for a while. So we shall hope that it doesn't do it again, but we will see. January 9th. SS Bureau, first class cabin passageway. And I am sorry if I say anything incorrectly. You never know. I may pronounce something wrong. I wish we hadn't been thrown out like that. I wish we managed to find some clues as to what that speckled band might be. Snake. Very much a snake. We didn't manage to investigate at all. I imagine that we won't be able to for a while longer. We'll never get past that sailor guarding the door. He's clearly glaring at us, as if to say, don't even think about it. Oh, wait. What is it? Well, what happened to our great detective friend? Where did he go? Oh, yes, he's completely disappeared. When did he do that? He slipped away quietly as the wind, but not before ensuring that these were securely back on my wrists. Okay. Anything else we could examine? We did that. We did that. The door. You can get after us. Be like, meh. Really wish we'd have a chance to look around in Miss Pavlova's cabin. Hello, Stroganoff. What? Why are you looking like that? You want something? Hmm? Maybe you want me to throw you out again, huh? Oh, no, definitely not that. Next time I have to throw you out, I show you where lobsters spend winter. Understand? I understand. Maybe I should steer clear of him until he's forgotten my face. I don't think he'll ever forget your face, Naruhuda-san. Like that. We're not allowed in here. I don't think either. That door leads to the second class area. Yeah. It's locked. I can't open it. No, well, that stands to reason. No one wants to let the murderer escape. Gosh, she gave me a very stern look when she said that. Okay, we probably need to just go back to our... I'm gonna guess, to the room. First class cabin number 1. Yes, that's our cabin. Not our cabin, it's Kazuma-sama's cabin. Sorry. Your accommodation is confined to the wardrobe inside the cabin. You know how to make a stowaway feel small, don't you? Small as the wardrobe I've been calling home. Anyway, I wonder if Inspector Hasanaga has managed to uncover any new clues. Yes, we should probably find him and ask. Oh, no. No. Okay, I'm trying to remember how to... No. Back. Look around. How do I go forward? How do I enter? I remember. There we go. This is what I want. Move into... We can't go in there, but we can go back in here. That's what I want. 9th of January. Yep. Still the same day. And almost same area. It looks like they're still investigating in here. Yes, on that subject. I wonder if Inspector Hasanaga is unscathed. What do you mean unscathed? Surely you haven't forgotten, have you, Naruhodo-san? Don't you remember what he said about allowing you out of this cabin to investigate? He's going to talk to the captain about it. He said he'd lay his life on the line for you. Oh, yes. I'm sure he was exaggerating. Let's see what he has to say for himself. He might have some new information for us. You never know. This is where Kazuma spent his final moments writing in his diary. I can hear a faint whistling sound. It looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. I was gonna hit the arrow, but I accidentally clicked the desk. Look at the writing here on this page. It's almost impossible to believe that he's gone. Kazuma-san left us a valuable clue to these words. I'm sure of it. We have to solve this mystery, Naruhodo-san. We will! There he is. He's beat up. Oh my goodness. Oh, you're back. Inspector! What happened to you? Your face is... Please, don't worry about it. They're just scratches. Made by a bear, maybe? When I told the captain I'd given you permission to investigate, he told me he'd pummel me with his fist and then toss me overboard. What? But the pummeling was over in a flash, and he must have decided against throwing me overboard. So it was nothing really. Looks like he wasn't joking when he said he'd lay his life on the line if he had to. Well, thanks to your efforts, we now know a little about the neighboring cabin. Yes, so I understand. Oh. I bumped into a man claiming to be a great detective a little while ago. I think his name was something like Herlock Sholmes. I don't think he was German though. Ah, that explains it. Shall we compare notes then? We can tell you what we found. Yes, let's do it. What? Nikolina Pavlova? She's in the cabin next door? Oh, do you know who she is? Please, what self-respecting ballet fan wouldn't know that graceful angel? Oh my goodness. Oops, I think I upset him there. Well, that tells us the neighboring cabin is unrelated to the case at least. Oh, how? Because angels don't go around committing crimes, do they? Oops, now I've definitely upset him. Inspector, has your investigation in here proved fruitful? If I'm honest, there's a little more I can do. Our duty is to make sure that scene isn't disturbed, ready to hand over to the Hong Kong police. So I'm just keeping watch here, trying not to take my eyes off the job. Hello, Strawberry Shortcake. How are you today? Glad to have you on the stream. Oh, I see. Ah, there's one thing. I do have a small piece of new information for you. Oh, what? Yes, do tell us, Inspector, please. New information. What is this new information you have, Inspector? It's this. The Bureau's medical office has finished his examination of the body. I managed to obtain the report. Oh? Kazuma's post-mortem report? Kazuma-sama? So, what was the cause of death? Damage to the cervical vertebrae is what's written in the report. His neck was broken? Yes, it would seem so. There was no obvious wounds or other signs of injury. So at first, I think they were considering poison. But it turns out they found no trace of poison in his system at all. Well, what weapon was used then? Nothing has been found out yet, but the fact that there was no signs of a wound suggests it may have been a blunt object, something that wouldn't leave a mark. Oh, I see. all the body's nerves running through the spine to the brain. Strong enough impact to the neck would induce death. It is a possibility, and no obvious wound would be left. Poor Kazuma. I have a second copy of the report. If it might be useful, you're welcome to have it. Really? Are you sure? Yes, it's fine. I trust you. Well, finally, one person does. What's going on in the game? Okay. Did you see any of this? And how? I'm doing great. I am doing great today. How are you doing? So, have you seen any of the games so far? It's kind of been hit and miss playing it since like February, playing it a bit. In the first couple episodes, we was put on trial for a murder, and we ended up defending ourselves, got out of it. We proved it wasn't us. And then we were coming with our friend to England. We was a stowaway and hiding in this wardrobe over here. We did pretty good for about 2 weeks until someone murdered our friend. But the thing is, somehow they murdered him, and the door was locked from the inside. So everyone thinks I did it now. Because I was hiding in the wardrobe. I was the only person in the room. So I'm trying to clear my name again, is what I'm doing. So I'm kind of investigating with a pair of handcuffs on through this boat that we're on. After all, if I didn't trust you, I'd never agreed to you leaving this cabin in the first place, would I? Finally, someone who trusts me. The girl hasn't trusted me really at all, though she came and helped me in the first trial. I think I saw the trial part, yes, but that's probably it. Oh, okay, interesting scenario. Yep, interesting. So we have checked out the neighboring cabin because our vent here connects to them, and Kazuma had wrote in his diary that he'd seen something hanging down out of the vent. And so we went over there and we found a runaway ballerina who's over there. She was dressed up like a Russian guy with like a big old beard and everything. And so we had to figure her out a little bit in her story, but we haven't figured out everything. She's got a suitcase which we suspect has a snake in it. Pretty sure it's a snake in it that we think was what was hanging down, but I don't think that's what killed Kazuma because something snapped his neck, but I doubt it was a snake. The character's getting more and more suspicious. Yes, the character is. Never know. Let's see here. The postmortem report has been entered into the court record. Okay, great detective. Oh yes, and there's a great detective on here called Sherlock Sholmes. He comes up with some pretty crazy scenarios of what happened. So far, most of it is very hit and miss of what's true or not, and I had to help him kind of help correct his ideas with the ballerina. Oh, Mr. Sholmes was here, was he? Yes, he seemed to be enjoying himself a little too much as he crept about on the floor investigating. But then he suddenly left. I suppose he must have become bored. Did he say anything at all? Actually, now that you mention it, yes, just one thing, but he practically shouted it. It's shoe polish, was all he said. Maybe a big boa snake. Those snap bones, don't they? Very possibly. I think he can. So we'll see what goes on. What's also crazy though, because I don't think it's her. She showed up like right before. They didn't know anything about him. I'm trying to say, because this guy here was actually hired to be like a bodyguard for Kazuma, like in the distance with a in secret bodyguard, because they thought he might get targeted. Because he's being sent from Japan over to England as kind of like a exchange student type thing, and it's like a big honor and everything. So they was a little worried about his safety. So they think he was targeted, but the ballerina didn't show up until that night because they helicoptered her in and dropped her on the boat with the snake. So I think the snake was in here. I think there was someone else also in here too, but these things always throw me for a loop. I never can guess them right. They always have such crazy things. Oh, well, that failed. You never know. There is so much that could happen. It ends up being someone off the wall crazy sometimes. Or good chance we don't even know who the person is yet either. We may not even be introduced to him yet. Shoe polish was all he said. Shoe polish. Wonder what he meant. It was when he was over there. Do you see piece of broken glass? By the piece of broken glass, do you see that? With the bell thing? Ah, perhaps he was talking about this brick-colored mark. Do you think? Oh, yes, that must be it. But how could Mr. Sholmes know that it's shoe polish? That leaves me cold, I'm afraid. I have no idea. What is it? Susato-san? Well, Kazuma-san was wearing leather shoes with a very dark tan hue. Dark tan? Sort of dark brownish red then? Yes, a little like the color of red wine, but darker. I often repaired them for him. Oh, does this mean that this mark was made by the polish on Kazuma's shoes as they scuffed on the floor? Piece of small glass object, and that looks like scuff mark made by Kazuma's shoes were found by the victim's body. That's really all I can tell you at this stage. I should return to my post. My fellow crewmen's eyes are boring into the back of my head. Yes, that might be for the best. Thank you. Poor Inspector. You look exhausted. Oh, no. Well, I feel terrible that I failed to protect Asanagi-san. He was my responsibility. Of course, my pain is nothing compared to yours. You were his friends. The truth is, I seem to have a heavy head ever since I woke up this morning. Heavy head? That's interesting. My head's still throbbing too. We're pretty sure the dinner from the night before the chicken was drugged, because Kazuma didn't like chicken. So, my character, since he was a stowaway, got to eat his meal, and it knocked us out, and that's why we didn't wake up while he was being killed. Okay, anything else we want to examine here? Really such a beautiful color, this glass. Looks like whatever it was broken clean in two. But the other half is nowhere to be seen. And then there's the brick-colored mark, which is shoe polish, according to the great detective you seem to know all about. I suppose it must be from Kazuma-sama's shoes. Maybe, but what I like to know is, how can the detective be so sure that it's shoe polish and not something else? Because he's a great detective, of course. That's hardly a reason, is it? Okay, let's see here. We talk to him. You! Where did you go? Oh, sorry. I just went to the next door cabin to investigate. Why? Who gave you permission for this? Well, Seaman Hasanaga did. That new Japanese, was it? Later, I'll roll him in a ball and throw him out in a cold room. Whew, he's gone back to guarding the door. I hope Inspector Hasanaga doesn't find himself in too much trouble on our account. He's really gone out of his way to help us, hasn't he? When we get back to Japan, we'll have to take him for a steak at Carnival. That could be a very long time from now, Naruhodo-san. Yeah, depending on what's going on. Let's see here. I've investigated thoroughly, but I can't find anything out of place. Oh yeah, I'm trying to decide. So this ventilator joins to Miss Pavlova's cabin. Yes, that's right. And just a few minutes before he died, Kazuma saw something emerge from it. The speckled band, as he described it. If only Miss Pavlova had been able to shed some light on it, but she seemed as baffled as we are. Yes, I wonder if she's telling us everything, though. I'm not sure. I know most people aboard would say the same about me, but there was something about that woman that didn't sit right with me. Okay. It was clear that these letters were written with ink that was somehow spilled on the floor, and they spelled the Russian word for wardrobe. It does seem to be an ambiguous pointer to you, Naruhodo-san, as you were sleeping in there. But to be truly unambiguous, it should have just spelled out my name, don't you think? Well, either way, one fact remains. It's hard to imagine that Kazuma-sama would have written his last words or word in Russian, which begs the question of who did write it. Yeah. Wonder. All the books provided for passengers occupying this cabin neatly arranged on the shelf. They were all over the place when we first looked around, if you remember. Oh yes, and you tidied them up, didn't you? You have to look after the ship's property. Unruly behavior in your cabin leads to damage. But it really wasn't me who knocked them over. Well, anyway, I feel much better now. They're neatly lined up. I can relax when things are I can't relax when things are untidy. Thing is, I think we've looked at all this. I wish it would be here. Let's see. How do I get my... No. One and a little past 2 cause of death. Instant death, victims broken as a result of a strong blow to the area, not obvious external injuries or traces of poison. Only other thing I see really is that. You! Where did you go? I wasn't trying to talk to you. I was looking at the rules. I don't want to talk to you. Get out of here. Alright. No. Skip. Okay, how do I get my things up again? Bad thing about playing in between several times. Get some of your buttons. Options. Oh. I hit the right button a little bit ago. Hey, I didn't want that. We did that. Where's my option to like move? That moves my cursor around. That selects. How did I find my button before? option. Where is my history? No, go to the bed a second. Yeah. Why am I failing to find my button? Am I even allowed to leave a room? Okay. It wasn't an option. I had to go back. I was in the option to examine. That's what started me off. Move. Can we go? Are they gonna allow us to leave the cabin? That's what I wanted. There we go. Goodness me. Bad thing about being like 2 weeks since I played this. Look, Naruhodo-san. Seaman Stroganoff has gone. Strong enough? The burly Russian sailor who's always crossing his arms and glaring at us. Ugh, all these Russian names are impossible to remember. Tra-la-la. Did you hear that? Sounded like someone singing. Tra-la-la, lira-lira-lay. I did it the great detective way. This caroling, I know that lark-like voice. Well, never mind that now. This is a golden opportunity for us. Yes, you're right. We must seize it. Let's get inside Miss Pavlov's cabin while we can and investigate. Definitely, before that stringy knot crewman comes back. It's Stroganoff, not stringy knot. Okay. Miss Pavlov isn't back yet. Susato-san, oh. Where's she gone? The case is open. Hey, what are you doing? Those are her private things. They're not a moment to waste, Naruhodo-san. We must investigate as quickly as we can. I suppose you're right. For Kazuma's sake. Not just for Kazuma-sama? What do you mean? It can't be long now until we arrive at port in Hong Kong. I don't want you to be in those handcuffs when we get there. Really? We must solve this case, Naruhodo-san. By ourselves if we have to. Yes, we will. Okay, let's examine. It's empty. Oh my, Miss Pavlov's case is open. It's completely empty inside. But according to the great detective's great deduction, she was hiding her special friend in there. Yes, a friend that she had to keep secret. Because you're not allowed to bring animals aboard this SS Bura. Wonder what kind of animal she had in there. And more to the point, where is it now? All the books have toppled over together. Look, every single one. Do you think that the god of the sea, perhaps? He's toppled too, though. It's exactly the same as the bookcase next door. In Kazuma's cabin. Perhaps Miss Pavlova was practicing a difficult ballet pose and fell against the bookcase. I don't know. Would she really be practicing ballet on the same night she ran away from a ballet company? Alright then. It must have been you. You lost your temper and knocked them over in a fit of rage. Not everything bad that happens on the ship is because of me, you know. Well, anyway, I'll set them up straight again in here too. I don't like seeing things in disarray. Well, now they're gonna know we was in here. Let's search over here. Naruhodo-san, are you there? Sorry, I'm right here, yes. Why? Oh, good. I thought you might have climbed into the wardrobe when I wasn't looking. There's no place like home. Believe me, I don't have some strange compulsion to jump inside every wardrobe I see, you know. Well, anyway, I'm not sure anyone could fit inside this one. It's full of beautiful outfits. I suppose they're all stage costumes. I was rather hoping we might find Miss Pavlov's friend hiding in there, but no such luck. Anything good on her desk? There are just a few books on the desk, nothing else by the looks of it. Well, Miss Pavlova only ran away from the ballet last night. She's hardly occupied this cabin for any time at all. That's true. I wonder what kind of books she likes to read. Let me see. Yes, I see. It would seem that Miss Pavlova enjoys reading books written in Russian. Thanks. I think I probably already knew that. It's rude to ask too much of people, Naruhodo-san. Kind of remember that. It seems this teapot is empty. So the natural conclusion is that the Russians are very thirsty people. Or because Miss Pavlova only came in this cabin last night, she hasn't had a chance to make any tea yet? I mean, it could be either. It's definitely that they're excessively thirsty. I'd lay 1,000 to 1 on it. You're rather obstinate, aren't you, Naruhodo-san? Let's see here. Uh-oh. What's this? I wonder what this little saucer is doing on the floor. Yes, it doesn't look like it's been dropped. More like it was put there deliberately. Ah, do you think there could be a leak in the roof just above here? What? A leak? Is this ship quite safe? I'm sure that even if there's a little leak in the roof, it doesn't mean the whole ship is going to sink. No, you're right. Of course you're right. She's really trying to persuade herself, isn't she? Okay. back over here. This cabin door has the same simple sort of bolt latch that our cabin door has. If the bolt's drawn across, there's no way anyone could enter the cabin from outside. Yes, it's not a particularly heavy-duty bolt, is it? But still, it would slide across its own accord. It wouldn't slide across of its own accord, would it? No. The door is made of metal, so there's no chance of trickery using magnets to unbolt it from the outside. And it's sealed up perfectly, too, to stop any seawater coming in. So you couldn't use the method you told me of passing a thread through the crack around the closed door either. I seem to know a lot of tricks for opening doors. I'm trying to see why they suspect me. So this ventilator connects to Kazuma's cabin next door. Yes, although what a fool a shipbuilder must be to open a ventilator into another room. Maybe it's so that if there's a gas leak next door, the occupant of the cabin would notice and raise the alarm? Or the occupants of both cabins would die of gas poisoning? That's a possibility. Anyway, last night, Kazuma wrote that he saw a speckled band coming out of this ventilator. There's one of these next to the bed in Kazuma's cabin, too. Yes, it's a bell cord. I can't resist. Don't push it! Girl. She barely hesitated there, and she gave it a good tug, too. No, I didn't actually expect anyone to come. We don't want them to. We're trying to investigate in secret. Girl. You're a mess, girl. Okay, we got the rules here, of course. Oh yes, they're displayed in the cabin, in this cabin too. The SS Burra's rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabinet. Cabin pets are also strictly forbidden. I suppose Miss Pavlova realized that she needed to keep the contents of her case a secret after she read this. Her special friend, I mean. I wonder where her friend has disappeared to now. Probably having fun exploring the ship, I imagine. I just hope Seaman Stroganov doesn't find it and throw it overboard. Oh, yes, so do I. Did we find everything in here? I think we... Can we check the trash can? I suppose every cabin has a waste paper basket. Shall we have a little look and see what's been thrown away? Nah, hold on, son. It's poor etiquette to go sifting through someone's rubbish, you know? Ugh, those eyes. She's looking at me like I'm a piece of rubbish now. However, these are special circumstances, I think. Exactly, we have no choice. There's hardly anything in here at all. Oh, well, that's a little disappointing. Okay. I think we've looked at everything. Through clothes. Okay, let's leave the cabin. You gonna get us for being in her room? There he is. Dude. Oh, it's Mr. Shelms. Look. Wow, you never know where he's gonna turn up next to you. He seems to be stealing a look at something as he sings to himself. Tra-la-la, lira-lira-lay. I did it the great detective way. He's still singing. You think he hasn't noticed us? Or he's simply in extremely high spirits? Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when the yard bit off more than it could chew. And through it all, when there was doubt, Sucky Herlock was about. Excuse me? I sobbed it all and I stood tall. I did it the great detective way. Mr. Sholmes! Ah! What is it? You want to fight? I was like interrupting a fellow when he's singing. I was just about to reach the climactic finish. Sorry, I thought you were never going to stop, so I figured now is a good time as any. I very nearly dropped you to the floor with one of my famous right hooks. Alright, I get the picture. Now, could you put those fists away? Mr. Sholmes, you seem to be examining something before we interrupted you. Ah, yes, that. I was immersed in studying the ship's log as penned by the stockily built crewman who's usually on guard here. Oh yes, the ship's log. And did you find anything useful from it? Well, after 2 a.m. this morning, the majority of the entries are blank. Which means that there was nothing to report. Nothing of note happened, so... Ha 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 ha. You truly are a student from the land of the rising sun. You've been utterly blinded by it. Ha! Sorry? Your logic, my boy, is inverted. I think we looked at that book, and I think we said something about how we think the guy probably just like left his post. Something happened. The guy left his post or something, probably, because it was like all blank. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? Observing the other pages, and all shall become clear. It would seem the same crewman often stands sentry in this first-class passageway, and he has an almost religious practice of recording nothing to report every half an hour. Oh, he writes that in every 30 minutes? Nothing to report? Precisely. Put simply, the seaman writes nothing to report when there's just that. And yet, the ship's log from last night is largely blank. He didn't even write nothing to report. Do you mean? Yes, there was circumstances afoot last night which led to the seaman being absent from his post. What kind of circumstances? What happened? That remains a mystery for now, but we can be sure something significant took place. So significant that it caused the seaman to forget his regular habit of scribing nothing report in the log. These are important details. I would stake my life on it. You must log the ship's log in your mental file. The record kept by the crew assigned to the first class cabin area. There are virtually no entries from 2 a.m. until early this morning. Now that deduction was worthy of a great detective. Ah, you're starting to understand what my way is, I see. What makes Sholmes. Brilliant. Ah! Oh, ouch. What is it? Are you hurt? Oh, don't worry yourself. I seem to be afflicted with a throbbing head this morning for some reason, nothing more. Well, my friends, until our next encounter. He's still singing to himself. I can hear it as he wanders off down the passageway. Is something wrong, Susato-san? You seem lost in thought. It's just... well, I feel the same. Sorry? Ever since I woke up this morning, I've had something of a headache. Oh, I wonder if the guy on duty also was drugged. And that's why he didn't write, because he went to sleep. Sort of continuous throbbing. Oh, you too? Let's see. Anything else here? I don't think we're gonna find anything here. This could be our chance. We already, yeah. It could be the same as before. But we could certainly do some looking around more. I'm sure we can learn something. I think let's want to go back in our cosmos, I think. Anything new with you? No. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Let's go back in her room. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Ah! What's that? Whirr! Shut down the engines immediately. Vessel sighted at a quarter mile forward. Full stop. Hard to starboard. All hands, brace for impact. What the? I think we're about to crash into another ship. What? I can't stand. Susato, hold me up. Ah! Oh, we just wrecked. Are you alright? Are you injured at all? I think I'm fine. Thank you, Naruhodo-san. She's probably sitting on me, isn't she? Nope. It looks like we avoided a collision. I think... Yes, the ship has come to a stop. Oh my goodness. What about you, Naruhodo-san? Are you hurt? No, I'm fine. Hello, is anyone in there? Shout if you need assistance. Oh, that sounds like... Inspector Hasanaka. Is that you in there, Naruhodo-san? Unbolt the door, quickly. What? The bolt? Look at that. The door's bolted. Did you do that, Susato-san? No, I didn't touch it. Well, that's strange. How did... And look at all the books. Oh, I bet everything's slanted whenever, everyone was drugged. So, like the captain or something. Something happened with driving the ship. They're just like they were before again. Naruhodo-san, aren't you going to open the door? Let the inspector in. Yeah. I'll let him in. I'd better tidy this place up first. I was gonna expect all that. Our violent emergency stop had solved one mystery at least, in a very vivid way. But I knew that what awaited us on the other side of the cabin door would not be pleasant. I hurried across, tidying up the cabin with a new sense of foreboding in my heart. To be continued. That chapter was a lot shorter than some of the others. Okay, well, trying to decide if we want to do another chapter or not. That was much shorter. Usually they go about 2.5 hours. Here, let me quickly do a restroom break and then we will go to the next chapter. All right, we are back. I already did that. All right, thank you for the stretch and the hydrate. All right, thank you for that. Somehow, the door to the cabin we were in ended up bolted after we made an emergency stop. Susato took a deep breath, then gently slid back the bolt. You, what are you doing in Miss Pavlova's quarters? Ah, you both looking hurt. Good. Yes, we're fine. Thank you. What on earth happened? We heard something about how we were going to collide with another ship. Yes, it appears to have been a false report, though. Oh, how did that happen? There's a dense fog outside, so it's extremely difficult to see. Someone must have thought he saw a ship ahead. This person obviously triggered the alarm. That's why we made an emergency stop. Everything's in chaos. Passengers are screaming, crews running everywhere. This first class area is the only quiet part of the ship at the moment. Oh, I see. Someone triggered the alarm? Does that mean that someone pressed that button outside? Oh, you wicked intruder! Dressed all in black, you are the devil. Sorry, me. I've been called a lot of things before, but devil's a first. You opened my traveling case. How could you? What? No, we didn't touch it. That's right, Miss Pavlova. It was already open when we came into your cabin. Inspector. Yes. Arrest this man. I know he did it. He's a criminal. It is not enough that he killed the man. Da, and he's stowaway as well. If Vixen promises not to steal chickens, do you believe? Take him away. He's a trespasser as well as everything else. Stowing away, trespassing, killing. She's right. You are a devil. Doesn't look good, does it? There's a cell below deck. Throw him in. Tomorrow we dock in Hong Kong. Then we give you straight to police. Wait, a cell? Please, Inspector Hasanaga, is there nothing you can do? This is a Russian vessel. I really have no jurisdiction here. After my last effort to appeal to the captain's good nature, I'm thinking I'm out of options. This is terrible. This is a real crisis. I've got to find a solution. Immediately. You've got yourself into a difficult situation here. By entering this cabin uninvited, I mean. Sorry, I was just so desperate to find a clue. I'm afraid there's really nothing more I can do to help you. If I push my luck any further, a punch to the face will be the least of my worries. I'm really sorry. I have to take responsibility for giving you the freedom to investigate Miss Pavlova's cabin. Now this has happened, I'll have to report to the captain at once. I really need some help here. I need a savior to rescue me from this crisis. I want the... Where's the darn Sherlock Holmes when I... There he is! Dude, you're such a strange guy. What the... What are you doing up there? Mr. Sholmes. And he's got her crown. Naturally, I was analyzing what a weight of 20,000 rubles feels like on my head. Have I not told you that as a detective? It is my business to know what other people do not. This isn't mere tomfoolery, my boy. Oh, no, no, no. Well, why are you hanging from that hook? From that hook before then? Isn't it obvious? To properly assess the weight of the 20,000 rubles, naturally. I wish to determine if it would bend that conceited hook on the wall, so conceited-looking hook on the wall, so full of brag and bounce. I never know whether to take this man seriously or not. You again, the great detective. Inspector. I confess I've been looking for you. I have something to report to you most urgently. Well, you might try looking for me somewhere other than a hook on the wall next time. What is to report? Speak! An urgent report from a great detective can mean but one thing. Yes? The case of the curious murder that took place last night, here on this vessel, the steamship Bura, has been solved. By me, naturally. What? Really? Yes, I have eliminated all other possibilities. No other explanation exists. So, allow me to illuminate all your minds. For I'm about to relieve my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. Okay, we're about to hear a bunch of crazy. We're probably going to help him sort it out, I bet. Let's see here. Ah, you have solved it? Even Hedgehog understands this case. We all knew who was responsible for killing Student Boy this morning when we found criminal in wardrobe. It is a stowaway. He has handcuffs to prove it. I didn't do it! The trouble is, there doesn't appear to be anyone else who could have killed the victim. Because everyone knows the cabin door is bolted shut from the inside. That means the culprit must be someone who was inside the cabin. Yes, it's what's called a locked room mystery in detective stories. Ah, locked room. This guy's basically doing the Hercules Poirot thing. Pretty much. It's interesting. Locked room. That is the point. The room was locked. I can't deny that. There's no way the bolt could have been drawn across from the outside the cabin. You're all quite mistaken. The cabin next door is not a so-called locked room at all. What? Oh yes, there is another entrance. An entrance used last night by the culprit in order to gain access to the cabin despite the bolted door. What other entrance? We never discovered one. Why? It keeps open-mouthed at you even as we speak. The ventilator man. The ventilator? Ah ha ha ha. You think this is funny? Can't even put my arm through that hole. That's because your arms are as thick as tree trunks. You're suggesting that the culprit entered and left the victim's cabin through the tiny opening? It's not possible. Ah, but it is. And last night, the victim was even witnessed the intruder in the act of passing through the ventilator. So was it the snake that killed him, maybe? Oh, I wonder if it's in the other room right now. It just got locked in when the alarm went off. Mr. Sholmes, do you mean... Are you referring to the word Kazuma-sama wrote in his diary? I can hear a faint whistling sound. And what looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. Precisely, my dear madam. But what does it mean? What is a speckled band? The answer to that particular conundrum is in this very cabin. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? There is a distinct element of danger, but fear not, I am ready. What I'm about to expose for you all to see will shock you to your cores. Behold. Ah! What the? It's the snake. Allow me to introduce you all to the band. The speckled band. A snake? Indubitably. Mr. Sholmes, just one thing. Pray, what troubles you? Well, that snake isn't really speckled, is it? It looks more like stripy, wouldn't you say? Hmm? Yes, you're right. I think in this case you'd have to call it the striped band, wouldn't you? You both see and observe with distinction, however. Do you not think that is precisely the trap into which the culprit wishes you to fall? Oh my goodness, really? Is it a trap? How exactly? I think perhaps it's time to explain the intricacies of my train of thought. Okay. See what he does here. Are you ready, Miss Pavlova? I'm sorry for the young man who died, but that is all. His death has nothing to do with me. This whole thing has nothing to do with me. There are two conclusions I've drawn from the facts. Number one, last night your friend infiltrated the victim's cabin. Ah. And number two, the same friend was responsible for the victim's losing his life. No. She's turned as white as a bowl of rice again. Chalmers must be right. He's hitting the nail on the head. This young woman's friend killed Mr. Asanagi? I can't hear you, dude. Looks like he can't speak with that snake coiled around his head. I advise as little movement as possible, Seaman. You wouldn't want the fangs of that long friend into your neck. So everyone, let us begin. Herlock Sholmes is proud to present the logic and reasoning spectacular. Here we go. Intruder's identity. Miss Pavlova, moments ago you claimed the following. His death has nothing to do with me. This whole thing has nothing to do with me. Yet you cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those horrid events, your aching heart smarts with pain. And it is that very pain that evidence your inextricable links to the victim's death. So we ask, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin at the portentous night? Why, naturally, it was the friend with which you boarded this vessel, was it not? Ah, as I suspected, another telltale glance. Without a doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us. And yet, that fact leaves us in a quandary. The victim's written observations on the night in question tells us of a speckled band. Whereas, regrettably, this specimen's markings do not fit that description in any way. What explanation can we give, pray? What was the sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night? No, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this. Oh, but it does. You have the answer to this quandary even now, hidden behind your back. Yes, that which you're trying but failing to conceal can only be the snake's slouted skin. Evidently, after the subtle and horrible crime, this most deadly friend of yours shed its original skin. No? I don't know what you're talking about. Last night, through the ventilator visibly in the cabin, your then speckled friend slithered next door. Using the bell cord on the other side of the bridge, the serpent silently descended into the victim's quarters. In the dim light, it appeared to be a young gentleman who was about to lose his life as a speckled man. In summary, the nature of this friend of yours, which last nightfall infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a rare breed of snake whose markings change each time it slouts its skin. Snake so dreadful we can only imagine it would be found in the deepest depths of India. Why are we that trusting in a very drugged man's observation? I don't know. He's pretty funny, but he has problems with his deductions. After I read this, after we get through it, okay, it's not gonna move. Sometimes I worry about them moving, but my wonder, it's definitely not. I don't think it's her. I don't know. if it was her snake in the ventilator, but I don't think it was really the snake, probably. Because she didn't show up. She got dropped off on the plane in the middle of the night. That's what the entry about the whirring, the whistle sound noise is. It was the helicopter dropping her off. So she didn't even pop up until like 1-ish a.m. in the morning. And by that point, pretty much everyone on the ship had already been drugged. So there's something more going on than just this. So I know this isn't the final conclusion. Our character will probably be the one that comes up with that, of what actually happens. But I do think there's probably some truth in some of this that's going on. It would seem too easy. Yes, it would be. It'd be too easy. Moving on, we come to... Also, someone used his hand, Kazuma's hand, to write wardrobe in Russian, which Kazuma is Japanese. So it was a Russian. She is Russian, but she would have had to get into his cabin. I don't know if she also wouldn't have known my character was asleep in the wardrobe at that time, because we was already knocked out by then. So I don't know who else might pop up here that's gonna do that. That will know Russian. We'll see. Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter, the grim demise of the victim. How did this young man lose his life, and why? According to the data of which I have been apprised, it would appear that there's no visible signs of injury. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom. No, it's not. He wasn't poisoned. There was no poison in his system. Now, if we take that as a fact, we can reasonably imagine that there is remaining evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime. Maybe I read that wrong. Maybe he said it wasn't a venom. Oh no. Could there be... Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively. The almost but not quite imperceptible puncture wound left by the venomous veins will seal the truth. Yes, the vestiges of the snake bite delivered by your terrifying friend. There wasn't any snake bite that we know of. This makes no sense. There is no point feigning ignorance, Miss Pavlova. After the incident, you endeavored to hide everything, didn't you? But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right. You had evidence that links you to the victim's death in the traveling case. When we first met in the cabin, it came to my attention that your case moved periodically. Your serpent assassin was restless inside, no doubt. You don't... It is telling that the victim made note of low whistling sounds to be heard minutes before his end. That was your signal, was it not? The sound you used to train your serpent friend? To train? Indeed, you put the serpent through the ventilator and waited. After a period, you summoned it back with a whistle. You couldn't know if the animal had done its duty, so you would listen for signs of life in a store. If the victim appeared not to have been dispatched, you release the snake once more. Do you deny the snake has undergone such training? It's not true. Having slithered through the ventilator and down the bell cord, the creature needed only to sink its fangs in once. Its venom would course through the victim's veins, ending his existence forever. That is the true nature of the speckled band that took the poor young man's life. There can be no doubt. My logic is infallible. Dude. Death by a venomous snake. Untrue. This concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of the speckled band. You need help, dude. They're all stirring. Miss Pavlova has trained her pet snake as a killing machine. There on the floor, you'll observe a saucer of milk. The promise of food is the key to train any creature. Incredible. You solved the mystery? Amazing. Your great deductions really live up to its name. I see why Sherlock Holmes has become such a household name. My dear man, it was nothing remarkable. As the Russians say, I could have done it with one left hand. Could I venture an opinion, Mr. Sholmes? But of course, what's on your mind? It's just about your deductions before. Some things don't quite make sense to me. I welcome questions as to my method. I'll answer both loudly and proudly. Oh, well, good. First of all, snakes are egg-laying creatures, part of the reptile family. You are well informed, madam. And reptiles, don't drink milk. It's really only mammals that like to drink milk, you see. So, I'm not sure it'd be possible to train a snake using milk as a reward. No matter? No doubt Miss Pavlova used some other treats to encourage her pet to do her bidding. Milk was merely an example, the logic holds. Well, there is something else. Snakes have new ears. Ah? Yes, so I'm not sure it would really be possible to signal a snake by whistling. But madame, what are the tales from Arabia? Have you not heard of the snakes that dance to the sound of a flute? I think perhaps the performers play their music in time with the snake's natural movements. Oh, I see. No hands, no feet, no ears. These creatures are so inept as to be practically useless. Don't take it out on the snakes, Mr. Sholmes. There's one more thing. You have more? Snakes use the scales on their bellies to propel themselves. So, I'm not really sure that the snake could manage to climb up a flat bell cord like the ones in these cabins. Then it should try harder. Please, don't be angry with me, Mr. Sholmes. The point is, even if the snake had gone through the ventilator to the next door cabin, it wouldn't have come back without help. What I'm trying to say is that there are a number of reasons why it's difficult to imagine the snake could have been part of this. Oh. Everyone's thinking now. I think we need to step in and help again, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh no, you don't mean... Yes, we need to modify Mr. Sholmes' latest deductions and turn them into the great ones they ought to be. I had a feeling that was coming. Alright, let's give it a try. Just what I'm waiting for, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, right. So, cast your eyes down your wrists again. What? You've done it again. Your handcuffs are off. Where did they go? Fear not, I shall see that they're restored after our work is done. Really wish you'd leave them off. Now, everyone, let us begin. Sherlock Holmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Alright. Miss Pavlova, moments ago you claimed the following. His death has nothing to do with me. This whole thing has nothing to do with me. Yet you cannot deceive yourself. Yes, when you recall those horrid events, your aching heart smarts with pain. She does have pain expression in her face. Yes, that's true. She looks as though Kazuma-san's death is weighing heavily on her mind. But you're not sure Mr. Holmes has read her quite correctly, is it? Would there be some other way to interpret her expression then? Let's take a moment and really look close at Miss Pavlova. Ah, she's got her. Oh, Naruhodo, look. That looks like a very painful wound. Looks like scratches made by some kind of small animal. Maybe the snake's not her pet then. Maybe she's got something else with the milk and everything. Looks like a scratch made from a small animal. Fairly recent too. Well, whatever scratched her doesn't appear to be around here. Is your earring missing? No. Yeah, such a petite ear along the beautiful hair. Like little pink shells. Oh, what's that? There's something attached to her ear. Oh, I expect that's what they call an earring. Little piece of jewelry. An earring, is it? Well, he's tiny. Perhaps part of it is missing. Maybe he's broken off. For now, all that's left is the clasp part that attaches to the ear. If that's the case, she doesn't appear to have noticed that it's broken. Yeah, same as that one. Yeah, such a petite ear. Da 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 da. Oh, what's that? Dangling down from her ear. Yeah. Ah, that's an earring. The crescent moon part looks as though it's made from wood. It's charming, isn't it? Women do seem to love adornments like that. In their hair, around their neck, on their fingers, and even hanging from their ears, it seems. Well, jewelry is beautiful, Naruhodo-san. Okay, we're gonna present, of course, this.
Yes.
Yes, when you recall those horrid events, the claw scratch marks with pain. Indeed, and simple observation reveals the wound is fresh. Miss Pavlova, did you in fact receive that scratch sometime last night? When I think about the young man who died next door, I feel so sad. When I'm sad, the pain from this wound is worse. And it is that very pain that the evidence you're inextricable link to the victim's death. So we asked, what was the nature of this intruder that stole into the victim's cabin on that pretentious night? Why, naturally, it was the friend in which you boarded this vessel, was it not? Ah, as I suspect, another telltale glance. Without doubt, your friend is the writhing serpent we see before us. It seems likely the scratch mark on the back of Miss Pavlova's hand was made by this friend of hers, doesn't it? Except snakes don't have claws, do they? No, they don't. They don't even have hands or feet in which claws might grow. Well then, if that snake isn't her pet, what is? What's the true identity of this friend of hers? We should follow her gaze, Naruhodo-san. That's where we'll find the answer. There. Picture. Got a cat. Ah, it's the bell. There was half a bell in the room. Oh, look at the photograph in this frame. This must be something Miss Pavlova brought with her when she ran away. She is exceptionally beautiful, isn't she? Yes, that's true. But personally, it's the little black creature she's holding that caught my eye. Maybe we better take a look at this. No, go back. You're gonna make me listen to it again. No, come on.
Yes.
Without doubt, your friend is the little kitten we see before us. Yes, the scratch on the back of your hand makes that abundantly clear. Oh no. The whereabouts of this black kitten isn't clear, but what is clear that you brought the animal with you when you ran away, didn't you? Ah. Darka is my best friend. I couldn't leave her behind. Darka would appear to be a Russian blue. And yet, the fact leaves us in quandary. The victim's written observations on the night in question, those of a speckled band. Whereas, regrettably, the species markings do not fit that description in any way. What explanation can we then give, pray? What was the sight that fell upon the victim's eyes last night? No, don't look at me. This has nothing to do with any of this. But it does. You have the answer to this quandary right even now, behind your back. Yes, that which you're trying but failing to conceal. It can only be the snake's slotted skin. Did you see that? She just took something out of her pocket and hid it behind her back. If she just left it in her pocket, no one would even have known. Oh yes, ploys like that are Mr. Shom's specialty. He's ever so cleverly forced her to reveal something. I thought deduction was his specialty. Maybe making me believe that was a ploy too. Anyway, I find it hard to believe that that's the skin of a snake. In which case, just what is Miss Pavlova hiding behind her rack? The kitten got in his room. That's probably like a scarf or something, and she was trying to get the kitten's attention, probably. It's gonna be my guess. Well, it is speckled. It's a band, but what is it? It seems to be soft and fluffy. A long piece of cloth of some. It's a cat toy. Cloth of some sort, and that looks like a handful at one end. I think it's maybe a cat toy. It's sort of common in the West, apparently. How's that a toy for cats? Cats like to chase the band around and paw at it. Kittens in particular love that sort of play. You only need to wave it in front of them, and they pounce to catch it. Ah, that sounds positively adorable.
Yes.
Yes, the thing you're trying but failing to conceal is a cat's toy. Precisely in the true nature of the now infamous speckled band. Ah. And it was this toy that you dangled through the ventilator. You waved it around, I presume. Naturally, the victim would not fail to notice it. But why? For what reason? My dear boy, there can only be one answer to that. After her feline friend disappeared through the ventilator to the neighboring cabin, Miss Pavlova attempted to use a speckled cat's toy to incite the creature to return. Ah. In summary, the nature of this friend of Miss Pavlova's, which last night infiltrated the scene of the crime, is a blithesome Russian blue cat breed of cat by the name of Darka. Yeah. Truly troublesome feline young Darka is proving to be. She must be caged once it's found. You'll forgive us for borrowing the photograph of your pet, Miss Pavlova. And entered into the record. It was after I gave her the food last night. That's when it happened. She scratched the back of my hand and then ran up the bell cord. Before I could do anything, she disappeared through the ventilator. Darka, she's so naughty. Alright, now about the death. Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter. The grim demise of the victim. How did this young man lose his life, and why? According to the data of which I have been apprised, it would appear that there's no visible signs of injury. Ah. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom. No. What Mr. Shalom says is true. There's no signs of wounds anywhere on the Kazuma-san's body. That's right. But Mr. Shalom seems to be unaware of one very important detail. Kazuma-san wasn't poisoned. Yes, it seems so. Let's give him the information he's missing now.
Yes.
In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by the post-mortem report. Ah, yes, I knew it was one or the other. His neck was... Indeed, the breaking of the cervical vertebrae is fatal. Only the Goliath would be strong enough to survive that. Sandman Stroganoff isn't some immortal freak, you know. The jury is out. Anyway, we have a good authority to the victims that the victim's neck was broken. Now, if we take that as a fact, we can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime. Oh no. Could there be? Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death conclusively. Kazuma died because his neck was broken. In other words, he was probably struck by something or someone. Yes, that's a distinct possibility. As of yet, no weapons have been found, though. Presumably, Darka didn't silently creep up behind Kazuma and deal him a fatal blow. I suppose it's possible that he had a fall and hit the ground awkwardly. Could have been a terrible act of misfortune that he broke his neck completely by accident. Oh yeah, a bad fall could explain that. It's rather hard to believe of Kazuma-sama, though. He wasn't a clumsy man. Well, we need to fix this deduction somehow. Is there anything from the scene that could explain what happened? This?
Yes.
Mark on the floor. Yes, in an examination, the mark on the floor will prove the cause of death conclusively. This particular mark, so prominently visible next to the victim's body, is a deposit of shoe polish. He tripped on the cat? Shoe polish, indeed, positively identified by the little analysis device I constructed, which I carry now as a matter of course. Beeswax, tallow, and dye were my results, and undeniable ingredients of shoe polish. Then the color of the polish is a perfect match to the color of Mr. Asagi's laced leather shoes. Looking at this mark, it's not hard to imagine what happened. For some reason, Mr. Asagi must have caught his foot on that point of the floor and tripped. Please, no. And by the dreadful turn of misfortune, caught his neck against some immovable object as he fell to the floor. Suffering a fatal blow to the spine, the victim's vertebrae shattered. In that instant, he lost his life. No! I don't know. I don't know anything about this. Is that really true, Miss Pavlova? What about the evidence left at the scene where Mr. Asanagi lost his life? Yes, the facts are as clear as day to me. You did all you could to conceal the incriminating evidence. But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. That's right. You hid evidence that linked you to the victim's death in the traveling case. I don't believe it. Kazuma-sama merely tripped over and now he's no more? It can't be true. I refuse to accept it. No, it's hard to believe, but the mark on the floor does seem to suggest that's what happened. But if this part of Mr. Sholm's deduction is right, Miss Pavlova is trying to hide some evidence that would prove it. Here in this cabin, somewhere in the direction that she's casting her eyes. Where, I wonder? Let's have a good look around. Answer must be somewhere. Trying to see in the... Can I look in the case? This is where Miss Pavlova hid her friend. That's right. And it wasn't a snake after all. No, it was that little kitten she called Darka. Now, not that it's anywhere to be seen now. It seems to have let itself out of the case and gone exploring. I expect it wrapped itself around someone's head somewhere trying to make a new friend. Either that or scratching their hands to pieces. Point is, where has it gone to? Anything? Trash? This is a waste paper basket. Perhaps all the first class cabins have them. Miss Pavlova only started occupying the cabin late last night. Presumably there's not much rubbish in there yet. There's the bell. Oh, what's that? It's a broken piece of glass, isn't it? Yes, it is. And I feel like we've seen it somewhere before. If it looks familiar, perhaps it's more than your mind simply playing tricks on you. That's right. You hid evidence that links you to the victim's death in that waste paper basket. Ah! Here we have a fragment of some intricate glass objects, it would seem. One that's a familiar air, in fact. Precisely. We found another piece of broken glass on the floor in Mr. Asagi's cabin. As you can see, the two pieces fit together perfectly. Oh no. So, Miss Pavlova, shall we consider that what this tells us? Why would it be the part of this glass object, which was evidently broken at the scene of the victim's death, should be found in a waste paper basket in your cabin? Ah! You're well acquainted with this glass spell, are you not? I don't know. Is in that hushed Russian accent of yours won't save you this time, dear girl. Why? Because we have conclusive evidence linking you to the bell in question. What? Take it away, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. Evidence linking Miss Pavlova and the little glass bell. That would be...
Yes.
If you look at this photograph, you can clearly see, hanging from Darka's collar, is the very glass bell in question. The truth has caught up with you, Miss Pavlova. The young man who lost his life last night did so after a truly inauspicious fall. And the cause of that fateful stumble. Your absent feline friend Darka. Still does not explain why everyone was drugged, though. Unless everyone got drugged because they was laying her on in secret. I couldn't tell anyone. I'm sorry. Death by tripping over a cat. What a way to die. Poor guy. How did she know he was in the wardrobe, though? I wonder. If she was the one who did the finger writing. Why don't you tell us now, Miss Pavlova? Tell us exactly what happened last night. It was a little after 1 in the morning. It was so late, but I hadn't had time to feed Darka, so I gave her some food. And then, all of a sudden, she scratched me and jumped out of my hands. People do say that cats become very anxious and nervous in new environments. She was so fast, she disappeared through the ventilator before I could stop her. And that is how you acquired the rather nasty wound on the back of your hand, I take it. Yes. I had read that, rules on the wall. I knew that I was not allowed Darker with me. Yes, modern science suggests that animals can carry infectious diseases. It's a precautionary, really. So I listened and listened, trying to hear if there was some noise in the next cabin. It was very quiet. I was sure if someone was there, they must be sleeping. So at that point, you thought it'd be safe to try to lure the kitten back in by dangling the end of the toy through the ventilator and into the adjoining cabin. Darko always loves this toy, but it didn't work. Nothing worked. I tried using her favorite toy. I tried whistling to her softly, but nothing. She didn't return. So the faint whistling sound Kazuma wrote about in his diary was Miss Pavlova trying to retrieve her pet. Cats have a propensity to remain hidden in the shadows when frightened. Yes, so there was nothing else I could do. I just had to wait until she'd calm down. But then... I nearly passed out with shock. I heard her cry out and then... Oh, it was such a dreadful bang. And afterwards, nothing. It was totally silent. Kazuma was... From the appearance of the brown mark on the floor, it seems likely that what you heard was the victim stepping on the glass bell and tripping. The SS Bura is a large vessel, but even she can pitch and roll violently without warning. If Mr. Asanago is already off balance as a result of the ship lurching when the kitten got under his feet, a combination of unfortunate factors could easily have caused him to fall over. But what became of the kitten afterwards? In the end, I managed to get her to come back through the ventilator. Yet Darker's nowhere to be seen. I must have forgotten to lock my case. Now she's disappeared again. Gracious, that cat is as insufferable restless as I am. Well, he knows something about himself at least. When I woke up this morning, I heard that the young man in the cabin next door to mine had died. I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone what had happened. I was too scared. Scared that they would just send me back. Oh, hold on a minute. What about the snake? You're right, where is it? The snake isn't your friend, Miss Pavlova. Then whose is it, and where did it come from? What on earth is such a dangerous creature doing on board this ship? Oh, I didn't say. Snake is my friend. His name is Piroshko. What? Well, he couldn't talk. His mouth was covered. What? The snake belongs to you? He escaped from cage from emergency alarm sounded. I was looking for him. I did not expect to find him in here. Yes, how did that snake get into this cabin? But animals are not permitted on board. Ha! We are at sea for 1 year. You want to be so long without close friend, without someone who understands? Couldn't you find someone a little more human? Who understands you better? But my dear burly fellow, a gargantuan venomous snake? Surely you can appreciate the danger you're putting everyone in. No venom. Huh? Piroshko does not have venom. He is harmless. Very long, but very gentle. He is adorable like Granny. It's venomless? Yes. Now he is hungry, so he is in bad mood. Once I feed him, you'll see big smile. And you feed him what? Milk, I suppose? Like they say they milk chickens. Ridiculous. Snakes that drink milk are only in stupid stories. He eats mouses, big fat round mouses. Ah, oh, so is that what the mousetrap in the passageway out there is for? Of course. How else can I catch my friend's favorite food? Nothing says top of the food chain like the look in their eyes right now. It refuses to drink milk, it can't hear a whistle, it can't climb up a bill cord, and it's not even venomous? How the deuce did something so inept land a starring role? Not my fault, I do not make up stories. My Perusco has nothing to do with this incident. So that's what happened. That's the truth behind my best friend's tragic death. I feel like there's a little bit more to it still, with the fact that I think everyone was drugged with headaches. Someone hit the emergency stop, and someone also had to write the word in Russian on the floor, so there's a little more to this. Say something, girl. Miss Pavlova. I understand the difficult situation you found yourself in. I do sympathize. But please remember this. A young man lost his life. If you're going to attempt to cover up your guilt with the lies, then no matter what the circumstances, I cannot forgive you. But what are you talking about, Miss Mikatoba? What lies? Miss Pavlova just confessed everything. It was just a series of unfortunate events, an accident. I'm not a great detective like Mr. Sholmes. I don't have a gift for knowing the truth. But even I can see that was not the truth. Don't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? To be perfectly honest, yes. There's a discrepancy in Miss Pavlov's story, I'm sure of it. Just can't quite put my finger on it. Come on, Sholmes, what are you gonna say? I confess. I was intending to let Scotland Yard deal with any outstanding issues on this matter. Oh. I am only present here for a very specific reason. The truth is, you, Mr. Naruhodo, are simply a distraction. A distraction? I do hope you've not been finding your shackles uncomfortable. Why did you put it back on me? Not again. When did you do that? Especially as they're on your wrist as a result of my intervention. I was rather hoping I could resolve matters before we made our next port call. You were Mr. Sholmes? Yes, but I overlooked one important detail. The deceased young man was a very close companion of yours. Was he not? Yes, Kazuma was my closest friend. I had him afraid him even. In that case, we must follow this to its conclusion. No further distractions. You must uncover the real truth here, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, whatever that may be. Why did he even put the shackles back on us? She's more guilty than we are now at this point. The key to this is the discrepancy in Miss Pavlov's story, I'm sure. If I can chase that down, maybe the truth will become clear. Truth about how you really died. How that scene in your cabin really came to be. Alright, I'll see what I can do. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo. So then, shall we begin? Yes. What we should ponder first is the victim who lost his life in cabin that was bolted shut from the inside. Was this truly an unfortunate accident? Was it in fact no accident at all? That is what we must establish in the first instance. But we've already established it, haven't we? The man tripped over the kitten that had climbed into his cabin via the ventilator. Tried to check. Yes, but still an accident. Wait, let's just take a step back. It doesn't make sense if that's really what happened, does it? I'm going to have to ask you to spell it out for me, I'm afraid. Yes, it's starting to take shape now. There's a clear contradiction between the fact and Miss Pavlov's story here. Evidence is right here in Kazuma's cabin. It's undeniable. His death couldn't possibly have been a mere accident. Really? Let us show your hand. Show your hand, Mr. Naruhodo. Time to present the evidence. Evidence that proves unequivocally that the victim's death was no mere accident. I think it's this one.
Yes.
Good. The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. There's no way that Mr. Asanagi could have left this message on the floor. That's script. It's Russian, isn't it? Indeed, it is. The word written means wardrobe. Seems I see what you mean. Most people would leave a dying message in their native language, Japanese in this case. But maybe he was studying Russian. It is a simple language. He could have just picked it up very fast. That doesn't seem likely. It's actually not the point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not. Sorry, what do you mean? By the time he hit the floor, he was probably dead. Exactly what I said before. There is no way that Mr. Asanagi would have left this message on the floor. And the reason why is clearly explained here. Damage to the cervical vertebrae resulted in instant death. Instant death. Ah. Which means after the victim fell to the floor, he couldn't possibly have written anything, because he was already dead. That's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Asanagi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there if Miss Pavlova told us was true. What? So Sato-san has noticed it too then. Putting this message on the floor side, there's something else that gives the truth away. Another piece of evidence that proves this was no accident. In other words... Oh goodness. Well, it could be the bell. Well, because it broke there. She would have had to get the second half, wouldn't she?
Yes.
This piece of broken glass next to the mark on the floor. But that's the glass bell the kitten had around its neck. We already know about all that. It was broken in half when the victim tripped over the cat and fell. So we already have a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw in the logic? Unfortunately, there's a very big flaw. A fatal flaw. What? If that's really what happened... Then how did one half of the bell end up back here in this cabin? Ah. Yes, remember that we found the other half of the glass bell in the wastepaper basket? Would you care to explain that, Miss Pavlova? Oh no. Both these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. That when Mr. Asanagi died last night in his cabin, there was someone else in the room. That same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth, in order to cover up his or her own guilt. Yeah. Yes, there was someone else present in Mr. Asanagi. You're wasting time. Someone else was there. Duh, of course we know this. What are you talking about? Bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. There was no way in or out. Oh yes. Only other person in the cabin when young student died was you.
Yes.
It's true. I was in the cabin when it happened. You were shut inside the cabin wardrobe, to be precise about the detail. But I don't know Russian. There's no way I would have left that message. Not would have. There's no point you could have left that message. To be precise about the detail. Would you mind? Ah. Forgive me, my dear fellow. As I was saying... The person in question wrote the word wardrobe in Russian on the floor. In an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been asleep the entire time. At the very beginning of the game, of this story, Sholmes commented how the handwritings were different too. And then the same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen on the floor, for fear of becoming evidence that would show how Mr. Asanagi really died. But why wouldn't this person have taken all the pieces of bell away? The hat behind was always gonna raise questions. Yes, well, it was past 1 o'clock in the early hours in the morning. The cabin would have been quite dark. The single small lamp suspended from the ceiling would barely have cast any light on the floor there. Little wonder then that the culprit failed to notice a fragment of the tiny item. You all suspect me, don't you? The marks on him. Seaman Stroganov. Nina is a woman of sea. She's daughter of a strong sailor. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills. She went away to join ballet company. But before, she was dancer on the ship. I'm a member of ship's band. You do not accuse ship's angel of being criminal? Ah, so that's it. See that when the young student died, Nina was there in his cabin? But that is not possible. I give my tooth. Well, this is almost interesting. And why would you give your tooth, pray? How can you be so sure? You're a great detective. You should know. Look truth in eyes. Captain Bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. Nobody could go into cabin. Not Nina, not anyone. Or do you want to tell me that killer can walk through locked doors? Yet, it's impossible. Ugh, he's right. But wait, I've read about this detective stories. People often tie threads around door latches so they can open and close them from the outside. The thread? Are you stupid? These bulkheads are not barn doors. Certainly not. They are watertight doors, as one would expect to find in any modern steamship. I'm surprised she's saying anything about the thread. She shot down that idea for me earlier. Constructed of heavy steel with not a gap in sight, no threads or needles or magnets could have been used. No, of course not. I thought so too. But Mr. Naruhodo suggested it earlier, so how could you shift it onto me like that? So Seaman Stroganoff has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been bolted shut from the outside. Not necessarily. What? I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. And in this very cabin, we can see the traces of the method I have in mind having been used before. I don't believe it. Go push the button, sir. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe you know what I mean, don't you? Way to shut the bolted cabin door from the outside. One way does spring to mind, yes. Do you really know what Mr. Sholmes means, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, and so should you, because we've seen it happen. Indeed, we have. So, would you care to do the honors, Mr. Naruhodo? Seen it happen. Were you on the hook already whenever that happened? Did you get locked in with us? Point out the telling sign of the method that we use. Slide the cabin door bolt across from the outside. Am I able to go? Am I allowed to go in the other room? Oh my goodness. This is gonna be interesting. Need the alarm. How do we get the alarm? maybe present?
Yes.
Yes, the horn. This is it. This shows how it was done. It certainly shows how something was done, I concur. In fact, it's an excellent way to show how easily it is to jump to the wrong conclusion. Oh, I did it wrong. You really need to say truly dismal. Okay. Surely it can't really be possible to make the bowl slide shut without touching it at all, can you? I'm sure that's it. Something in the back of my mind tells me so. Do you really know that Mr. Solms means Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, and so should you. Yes, we saw it happen, but the alarm is on the outside. How am I gonna present that? Let's see. Point out the telltale sign in the method that was used to slide the cabin door.
Yes.
Might be wrong again. This is it. This shows how it was done. Nope, not right again. Ah. Okay. Nope. Let me see here. Yeah, let's see here. Oh, I know. Okay. Okay, I know. Let's see. Okay, no. Oh, telltale sign. It's the books. No. Percent. Okay. Alright, I think I figured out what I need to do. Okay. Took me a second to think. See how all the books and things on it have toppled over? That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before. Yes, that's right. It's a very powerful vessel after a while. When the engines are thrown into reverse, a violent jolt goes across the entire ship. Any small objects that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over. I believe, yes, it's what's known as a force of inertia, acting on the objects. Is there nothing Susato doesn't know, or that isn't in her book at least? Well, whatever it's called, the same force that pushed over the books on the bookcase also made something else in this cabin move. The bolt on the cabin door. Ah, it was very obvious just after the emergency stop that the ship made earlier. We had come into the cabin not long before. We hadn't bolted the door. But then... Hello, is anyone in there? Oh, it sounds like... Inspector Hasanaga. Oh, yes. That's it. When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door. Yes, it's made of metal, but it's small and light enough to be moved to the ship's by the ship's sudden change of speed, or the force of the inertia, you want to call it. Are you trying to say that the last night, after Mr. Asanaga was killed? The SS Burra made another emergency stop. That's why things are on the floor here too, and there. Then I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin. I thought it looked a little odd. All the books on the shelves had toppled over, and all the ornaments. It was almost as if someone had run their hand across the shelf and deliberately knocked everything over. Oh yes, I remember that. I stood them all up again, didn't I? Then when we came into this cabin, we were surprised to see the same thing here. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like in Mr. Asanagi's cabin. Oh my. Do you have anything to say about this, Miss Pavlova? Are you out of your mind? You say Burra made an emergency stop. Does seem a little far-fetched. How could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying that the culprit is actually someone from the engine room. Oh, it is simple enough. Huh? Are you forgetting the button in the passageway outside? Used to trigger the emergency alarm? Oh yes, of course. There was a notice, wasn't there, telling you only to press the button in times of emergency. On dark nights when the fog is dense, the captain cannot afford to rely on the eyes of his lookout alone. Hence the placement of the number of buttons around the vessel to allow any crewman to raise the alarm. The sort of button one is almost compelled to press to satisfy one's curiosity. Wait! It was you! When the button is pressed, two things happen in the interest of safety. The emergency bell rings and the vessel comes to a complete stop. As indeed it did a little earlier today. Mr. Sholmes, surely it wasn't you who... As I always say, a button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed, whenever the occasion. He sounds almost proud of himself. How dare you mess with the ship? I report you to Captain. You are in much trouble now. Now, I am sure all of you can wait until later. Let us not overlook the fact that we have now learnt a valuable lesson. When that vessel makes an emergency stop, the bolts on the cabin door slide closed. So, what we must now consider... Yes, it all comes down to one thing now. Last night, after that had happened to Mr. Hasanagi, did the ship make an emergency stop, or did it not? You are idiots. Barrage, whose ship with many passengers. We make emergency stop even in the middle of the night. There would be chaos everywhere. What are your thoughts, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea. Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruhodo? Fascinating. Do show us, my good man. Oh, goodness. Thing is, we're down to 3. What evidence supports... Ship's log? With the ship's log.
Yes.
Seaman Stroganov. It's your duty to patrol the first area class of the ship, isn't that right? That is correct. Why? And the shipman's log here. This would be where you record the details of your duty. What are you doing with that? That is mine. Ah, you rather carelessly left it on top of the little makeshift bureau in the passageway out there. But as responsible passengers, we took it under our care with a mind to return it to you later. I left it there on purpose. That is where I put it always. The point is, looking at what you usually record, it's clear that under normal circumstances, you write the phrase nothing to report every 30 minutes. But from 2 o'clock last night until first light this morning, nothing was recorded at all. Nothing recorded in the log? That is... Duh. Because nothing happened. But if nothing happened, you would normally write nothing to report, wouldn't you? Ugh. Indeed, so, which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened here aboard the SS Bureau. Something sufficiently insignificant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log, in fact. Are you suggesting that the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night? Stop talking rubbish. If I am perfectly honest, I find that a little hard to believe myself. Oh? Why? Well, because if something major as an emergency stop really had happened, surely all of us would have noticed. That's very true. Thanks to the emergency stop we experienced earlier, we all know what it feels like now. The ship's lurched so violently and the alarm bell was so loud. I can't imagine that anyone would sleep through that, even if it happened in the dead of night. Well, no, that's a good point. What of the throbbing? Sorry, what do you mean? Your head, man. The throbbing of your head since this morning. We have all suffered with it. Ah. Oh, yes, I have a headache. You're right. In fact, I haven't been feeling myself since I woke up today. Nor have I. My head has been feeling heavy ever since dawn. Yes, you've all been afflicted, haven't you? Just as I suspected. He's right, my head's been throbbing today too. And since eating dinner yesterday evening, everything has felt sort of hazy. I can't really remember anything that happened after I climbed back inside the wardrobe. Then the first thing I noticed this morning was the throbbing pain in my head. I had already been dragged out of the wardrobe and had those handcuffs put on me by that point. Why didn't I wake up when all that was happening to me? Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo. You boarded this vessel as a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, well, yes. Sorry. The stowaway class of accommodation doesn't usually include meals. What did you survive on? Ah, well, Kazuma looked after me. He was always happy to share his meals. So you enjoyed some of the whole roast chicken dish that was served yesterday evening, I take it? Yes, in fact, I had all of that. Kazuma wasn't fond of chicken. Oh, really? So the victim didn't eat any of the chicken at all? That's right, he didn't touch it. Is that relevant? My dear fellow, does that not strike you? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, do you mean to say that there was something wrong with the chicken? I do. No, really? Is that really true? The meal prepared for the passengers last night had been tampered with. Tampered with by the addition of a soporific designed to induce a very deep slumber in those who consume it. A sleeping drug? Do you mean whoever did this laced every meal with a sleeping drug so no one would notice the ship's emergency stop? Mr. Naruhodo, of course that's not what Mr. Sholmes means. That's a far-fetched idea. Precisely. Lacing every meal of every passenger aboard with a soporific drug would certainly be impossible unless, that is, every single member of the crew was a conspirator. What? Mr. Sholmes? Well, seaman? I'm sorry to say that any more deception in this matter will get you nowhere. If you refused to talk, there would have been an inquiry made through the shipping company, of course. And were that to happen, every member of the crew and the captain himself would be hauled over to the coals. For aiding and abetting a renegade. Please, no more. I'll tell everything. I cannot make problems like this for everyone anymore. These crewmen are your former comrades, I believe. Yes, so when I decided to run away, I asked them to help me. We all agreed to help, everyone together. She threw away everything, her fame in the ballet, Mother Russia. We wanted to help our angel. I don't believe it. You are right. We put sleeping drugs in chicken last night. Yes, I remember now. I did notice chewing on a lump of something strange and bitter at one point. We could not make all drug. Not make all drug. How do you say dissolve? Ugh, talk about heavy seasoning. At midnight, in waters near Shanghai, we brought our angel on board. She was helped by a comrade on shore with a small fishing boat, while all the passengers of the SS Burra slept soundly, thanks to the almost magical effect of the slumber-inducing potion that their evening meals had contained. So if that was what happened, the only people awake on the ship last night were the crew, people who disliked chicken, and the newly aboard passenger, Miss Pavlova. And that means it would have been possible for you, who could have used the emergency stop trick to lock Kazuma's cabin door. But how does that make sense? Surely every cabin door would have ended up locked in that case and there would have been complete chaos. Oh, I wouldn't say so. What? Oh, of course. Just like us, all the other passengers would have eaten their evening meal of chicken in their cabins, after which they would have been overwhelmed by tiredness because of the sleeping drug. Quite, and accordingly, all passengers were already in their cabins for the night. Yes. The overwhelming majority of passengers would habitually sleep in their cabin door, with their cabin doors bolted anyway. And so not one of them would have found it remarkable to find the door locked in the morning. In the summary, in order to fasten the bolt of a single cabin door on the ship, the culprit brought the entire vessel to an emergency stop in the early hours of the morning. You have talked a long time and said many things. What is point? The point is what I said earlier. There was somebody else present at the scene when the victim lost his life last night. Someone who left a mess in Russia on the floor and attempted to incriminate another. Someone who tried desperately to hide the broken fragments of glass that would reveal the culprit's identity. Someone who abused the ship's emergency stop procedure in order to lock a door. All told, a busy night. But... I don't know about any of this. I am just a little girl. You like to speak with your long English words. Explain your clever ideas. But I am sailor, and sailors don't listen to long, boring stories. We don't believe. Sailors like me, we trust only what we see with our eyes. A laudable trait. What? I'm quite of the same disposition, my good man. Observation to me is everything. Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, yes. Do you hear it? That accusatory cry of guilt on the wind? What accusatory cry of guilt? Sorry, you've lost me. Proof of the involvement, man. But you can't hear such a call with your ears. No? You must hear it with your eyes. For observation is the basis of all deduction. What are you talking about? Hello, Wear Machine. How are you doing? Good evening. We're wrapping up this case. It's just about done. I believe the time has come. For one final logic and reasoning spectacular to expose the truth. So, Mr. Naruhodo, your assistance if you please. With what exactly, Mr. Jones? With observation, my dear fellow, just as I said, of these two prevaricators. Observation? If you remember, Mr. Naruhodo, we know that somebody tried to fabricate evidence, don't we? By tampering with the scene of Mr. Asanagi's death. What we're looking for is some trace of evidence that one of these two was there when it happened. It's been a long night. I just got home from work. I bet that was a long night, especially since you're an hour ahead of me. So you're like just past 12:30, aren't you? I bet that's really tiring. Was it a long shift or a short shift? I know you said long night, but I don't know whether that means a long shift or just like a really busy, crazy shift. Because I know it could be either way. What we're looking for is some trace of evidence that one of these two was there when it happened. Precisely. You are delightfully quick to grasp my meaning. Alright, I'll see what I can see. So we're looking for a trace of evidence that shows someone else was there last night when Kazuma died. Did we see an earring somewhere? Ah, nope. There it is. Long shift, crazy night, severely understaffed. Ooh, I'm sorry. That makes for a crazy time. I used to work at McDonald's once when I was a teenager, and there definitely was times like that where it's just like you're way understaffed and it's just insane. Ink stain. Oh, look at this. It's some kind of stain in an unusual place. Yes, you're right. It looks like ink, if I'm not mistaken. Ink. And look at that color, too. It's clear where this came from. Oh, okay, let's put it here. I want to present that.
Yes.
There we go. See, man, Stroganov. You seem to have quite a large purple stain on the back of your white uniform there. Yes, I don't know where the dirt comes from. So nothing in particular comes to mind about the stain. What are you trying to say? It would appear that the significance of the stain has escaped your attention, Seaman. Allow us to make it plain. It's a very large purple stain on the back of the Seaman Stroganov's uniform. I think what made it is clear. Indeed it is. So, Mr. Naruhodo, present the evidence that proves it. My pleasure. Alright then, the evidence that proves the stain on the back of Seaman Stroganov's uniform really is... Alright, thank you for the lurk. Yes. Hopefully you have fun listening. I'm sure you're tired and getting some supper. Okay, we are going to present this, the writing on the floor. Crime scene photograph. Yes, it's this photograph in the ink. You had ice cream. That sounds good. Sounds a good... When I've had a long, rough day, something like that sounds really good for me too. Yes, it's this photograph. In the ink, it shows. That's what caused the stain on your uniform. Ink. A rather unusual color of ink. Purple. The penny drops. At last. Now you see the significance. The Russian word on the floor next to the victim's body was written in purple ink. And the stain on the back of your uniform is ink of exactly the same color. If the ink had been dry, it could possibly have stained your uniform in that way, which means you must have been present in the cabin in the moments immediately after the ink was split. I see. 3 stretches, 3 hydrates. Thank you. I do need that stretch. Okay. Alright, got 3 hydrates too. Thank you. Alright, yes. It was me. I did it. Everything. I arranged everything in the dead student's cabin to make it look like wardrobe man did it. Then I press button, make Bureau do emergency stop, and bolt the cabin door shut. I did everything so no one would suspect our angel. Biff, please. Don't worry, Angel. Let me do talking. I was after 1 in the morning. I was on duty patrolling passageway. Then our angel came to me. She was white like sheet. Biff, please, you must help me. I went with her. The door to cabin number 1 was open. When I looked inside, I saw student boy on floor. What happened here? Please, don't tell anyone. My little one, my little furry friend. Everything that happened in cabin is like Angel told you. The kitten escaped through ventilator in Mr. Asanagi's cabin. Then he tripped over and broke his neck when he fell to the floor? Was it a snake? She has a pet cat. He has a pet snake. So there was a snake around, but it was not a snake in a ventilator. It was a cat toy. She was trying to lure the cat back in through the ventilator, is what she was doing. So her cat slipped through, and the friend Kazuma tripped on the cat. Yes, that is right. So after the incident, when the cat ran away, Miss Pavlova then visited the cabin next to hers, only to find its occupant lying lifeless on the floor. She said she was worried when she heard sound of something falling on floor. That's when she went to look. No, Angel. The door was not locked, so she opened to look, and you already know what happened after. There's just one thing, if you wouldn't mind. What? When you went to Mr. Asanagi's cabin, Miss Pavlova, was he already dead? Why? I already told you. When Nina opened door of student's cabin and looked inside, I was asking Miss Pavlova. Well, Miss Pavlova. I don't know what that means, girl. Oh. Yes, that is right. I saw him. It was dark and he was wearing black, but he was on the floor, not moving. I was scared. I understand. And I believe you. So, is that finally it now? Have we discovered the real truth behind Kazuma's death at last? Ah, something very nearly slipped my mind. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. This photograph. Yes, I took this myself, you know. The cause of death was a broken neck. Therefore, the victim died instantly. And the unfortunate incident that precipitated those events, a kitten on which the victim stumbled. However, if those are the facts, there is one particular area in this photograph that seems to be somewhat unnatural. What do you mean, unnatural? What are your thoughts on the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, well... Oh, goodness. If Kazuma tripped and fell, and by some terrible stroke of luck broke his neck, which part of this photographic print seems unnatural? His head and neck, maybe? It just looks like he's laying down. But... Let's see. Okay, look. So it's death. It's almost certainly broken as a result of a strong blow to the area. A strong blow to the area. He fell on his... He's on his stomach though, not his back. I'm gonna try it. Let's see. Must be here. Surely. Nope. That's incorrect then. I think. Allow me to offer you a piece of advice regarding the pursuit of detection, my dear fellow. When noting a crucial point, it can be helpful to keep your eyes open. Okay. Oh, I know. If she thought he was already dead... Oh, maybe not. I don't know. Come on, quit tapping. Would you land as the victim has? What of your hands? You look like the sort of fellow who stumbles with some regularity. That should be an easy task. Why do I? Which part is... It's the fist. It would be strange for him to have his hand in a fist if he's falling.
Yes.
Right? Alright, if he really fell due to an unfortunate accident, then his fist just doesn't seem quite right. The exact same thought occurred to me. In a fall, one's instinct is open the palms flat. Yet, here we see the victim with his left hand tightly balled into a fist. Almost, you might say, as though he were gripping something? What do you mean? Simply that I took the liberty of investigating the victim's fist a short while ago. You did? And that, pray, do you imagine I found there? And what, pray, do you imagine I found there, my dear fellow? Mr. Sholmes, show us, please. Why, of course, my dear madam. Would I keep you in suspense? This is what I found. Oh, it's her broken earring. Oh, a crescent moon with a little gemstone in the middle. Yes, you're right. A crescent moon. It's very pretty, but what does it tell us? Tells us nothing. I'm not so sure. That crescent moon looks familiar somehow. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere before. Yep. Observation, Mr. Naruhodo. That is the key. What? Truth is now tantalizingly close. How did that crescent moon come to be in Kazuma's clenched fist? This is the final clue, the last piece of the puzzle. Ask yourself, what does this little crescent moon mean? What significance has it? And observe, find the answer with your own eyes. Comes right here from her earring.
Yes.
Miss Pavlova, I noticed that on your ear, even though you have a metal earring, the decorative part of it seems to be missing. The little link holding it on must have broke, I suppose. What? But looking at your other ear, I notice a crescent moon. Ah! I don't believe it. Now, the missing crescent moon was found in the victim's clenched fist. Clearly, there's only one logical conclusion. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes. Miss Pavlova, Mr. Asanagi must have grasped the crescent moon and pulled it from your ear. Perhaps just moments before he fell to the floor. In other words, Last night in Mr. Asanagi's cabin, you witnessed the moment when the victim fell with your own eyes. In fact, you were quite literally at arm's length from him. But then the question is, why did Mr. Asanagi do that? Why did he pull your earring from your ear and hold it in his clenched fist during his final moments? Oh no. Angel? No one can protect you now. Please, Miss Pavlova, tell us the truth. Last night, what did you do to Kazuma? Ah! Oh, there's the breaking point. When I think about everything that happened yesterday, it was just too much. Running away, the fishing boat in the middle of the night, trying to climb onto this huge ship, and then when I was at last in the cabin, I could relax after this horrible long day. Darka, wait! I couldn't believe it when she disappeared through the ventilator. I tried to call her with a little whistle. I tried waving her favorite toy, but nothing worked. Darka would not come back. What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? Oh. I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine. The young man from your country. He was very polite and kind. He helped me find Darka and he promised not to tell anyone. But then, when I had my friend in my arms again, and I was going to leave the man's cabin. Just a moment. Sorry, but... Oh, yes? I'm sure I know your face. I've seen you somewhere before. Ah. Ah, of course. You're Nikolina Pavlova, aren't you? The Russian ballerina. Huh? No, I don't know that name. My heart nearly stopped when he said that. He knew who I was. How could this man from a land in the faraway east know a Russian ballerina? Yes, I saw your performance in Japan. The beauty of the ballet made a deep impression on me. But what are you doing on the ship? I'm sure I read that your ballet company was performing in the Shanghai at the moment. I can't fool him. I have to tell him the truth and hope he doesn't tell anyone. I have no other choice. I see. So you run away. Please keep my secret. Don't tell anyone. Give me a moment. I could use another opinion here. Uh-oh. He's going to pull the cord. He's going to tell the captain. He's going to go to the wardrobe, I bet. Why did I think I could trust him? Then it happened. Everything at once. I was only a second, but it felt like forever. Wait, I shouted. And then, meow! Darkrai jumped out of my arms and down at the young man's feet. And as he turned around to look at me, I pushed him. I don't even know why. I don't know why I did it. I was just so scared. And I had to stop him from telling anyone about me. That's when you went to fetch help. From the seaman Stroganoff, who was at duty in the passageway. I heard Nina cry out and thud on floor, so I ran to her. She was standing at cabin door shaking like leaf. She looked at me and said, "Help me, Biff. If they find out, I will be... Please, I have nowhere to go." So you decided to help? And that's when you arranged things in Kazuma's cabin to make it look like I did it? That no one suspects the passenger in the cabin next door. Yes. How did they know he was in the wardrobe still, though? I went into the cabin and I looked around to make sure there was nothing to show Nina was there. Then I found Stowaway in wardrobe, still sleeping. Right, that's when he found me. So you worked out a plan to lay the blame on the Stowaway. I closed wardrobe doors and put back strange paper sign. Luckily for me, that's the only reason Sato-san started to believe me when I said I was innocent. I dragged the young man's body to a good place and used ink that was spilled to write on the floor. I wrote wardrobe in Russian, so that the person who found him would look and said wardrobe of my Stowaway. And tell me, what of the glass bell? It was by my feet, so I picked it up. I see. But it was dark in the cabin. I didn't notice the other half. Then Angel went back to her cabin, and I finished job by pressing the emergency alarm button in the passageway. Yes. Accordingly, the SS Bureau did indeed come to an emergency halt at a little after 2 a.m., thus enticing the bolt on the cabin door to slide shut, creating the locked room mystery. There's still one thing I don't understand, Miss Pavlova. What? Well, you said that you told Kazuma about the fact that you'd run away from your homeland because you were worried that he was going to tell the captain that you pushed him. Isn't that right? Yes. But even if he had pulled the bell cord and called for the captain of the ship, aren't you friends with every member of the crew? Why would you have been a problem? It was what he said first that made me scared. What did he say first? What are you doing here at this time of night, Inspector? Oh, because there was a Inspector aboard. Oh. I'm sorry. I thought it was a friend of mine. He said an inspector was his friend. Ah, yes, meaning me. Who was supposed to be acting as his bodyguard. I thought that if police knew about me, they would arrest me. But before he could pull the bell cord, May I stop you for a moment, please, Miss Pavlova? It just doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, was Mr. Asanagi really going to pull the bell cord? I don't know. What? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I'm not Kazuma, so I can't know for certain. But he was a man of his word. If he told you he wouldn't give your secret away, he wouldn't have done. No, he was walking over to it. He was going to pull the cord. He was going to make them send me back. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, the day's work is not yet done, it seems. There's one more deduction to make. What other deduction? Yes, what action was the victim really about to take at the moment? He was gonna wake me up. Can we determine whether the young man's gaze was directed? First, considering the victim's location within his cabin. That's easy, I remember every detail of that room. I mean, yes, I spent quite a lot of time in the wardrobe, but still. That cabin had been my home for this entire voyage. So this is how the cabin looked last night, when Miss Pavlova visited Kazuma-sama. Yes, it's exactly how it was. Are you ready then, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes. If there's one thing I have learned today, that a simple gaze can reveal all matters of truth. And not only that, in order to draw the right conclusion, you can't afford to be out by even a little bit when you're following the gaze of wherever it lands. So, when he turned away from Miss Pavlova, what exactly was Kamazuma looking at? He was looking at the wardrobe. The wardrobe. My wardrobe. I was in there at the time, of course, sleeping soundly. Too soundly. If only I hadn't eaten that chicken that was laced with the sleeping drug. If only he'd woken me up. Then maybe this tragedy would never have happened.
Take that!
Take that. Considering everything that had happened last night, certainly it may have looked as though Kazuma was going to ring the bell cord. Yes, however, what is directly beside the bell cord? The wardrobe. The wardrobe? And more importantly, what was inside the wardrobe? The man's great friend, sleeping soundly. Ah. Miss Pavlova, please, think back very carefully. What were Mrs. Sagi's exact words last night? Give me a moment. I could use another opinion here. Another opinion? Yes, but not from a member of the crew. No, Mr. Asanagi intended to consult his close friend on the matter. To see if, between them, they might be able to help in some way, no doubt. Oh, no. Sadly, we can't know the truth for certain now. Too late for that. But I wish you had made sure of what Mr. Asanagi was looking at. Things may have ended very differently if you had. Miss Pavlova, I want to thank you for finally admitting the truth. But unfortunately, the truth is a man lost his life because of what you did. That will never change. I hope you'll never forget that. I'm sorry. Really, I'm so sorry. What have I done? And so, at long last, the mystery surrounding the tragic accident of the SS Burra was finally laid to rest. What will happen to Miss Pavlova now, then? Once we reach Great Britain, she'll be handed over to the British police of Scotland Yard. What about the fact that she ran away from Russia? Won't the Russians try to repatriate her? Apparently, the English detectives can speak to the immigration office and sort all that out. Mr. Sholmes can do that? So she won't be going back to Russia then? No, I don't think so. Even if she wanted to return in the future, I doubt she'd be able to. She ran away, so now she's in exile for life. I see. I'm sorry. Seaman Stroganov? I wanted to help our angel, no matter what. But I didn't think about you, about how you lost a good friend. I will go with Nina. I will give myself to British police. That's kind of you. In the meantime, thank you for letting me go free again. Kazuma's death feels like such a waste. But, well, do what you can for Miss Pavlova, won't you? Duh. Well, I'm afraid you need to pack now. We're due to arrive in Hong Kong tomorrow. As much as it pains me, I'm going to have to hand you over to the consul to arrange your passage back to Japan. Yes, I did so way after all. Couldn't really expect any different. So, you should get back to your cabin now. It looks like my study tour to Great Britain is over before it even began then. To think that only days ago Kazuma and I were laughing together about how we'd tear up the streets of London. It seems like a distant memory now. Oh, what's that? Is it someone weeping? Susato-san. Naruhodo-san, I didn't know you had returned. Oh, well, I haven't been back long. Inspector Hasanaka just told me I should pack, you know, ready to leave the ship tomorrow and all. You'll cry. Still can't believe this has happened. I can't believe someone's life could be over, just like that. Susato-san. He had such great ideas for his visit to Great Britain. So many dreams. Excuse me. Now they've been cruelly taken away, just as he has. I thought I could never forgive the person responsible. But now we know the truth. That was just an accident. It's a silly series of mishaps. Too much, Naruhodo-san. It's just too much. Yes, I know. I wish there was something I could say. Inspector, my duty was to see Asanagi safely to Great Britain, but I failed. It caused his two closest friends great pain and suffering as well. I've let everyone down. I'll do anything to make up for my terrible blunder. Nobody blames you, Inspector. And I'm free again now, at least. Ah, Sholmes! Quit it! Surprised, Mr. Naruhodo. What is the meaning of this? Oh, a trifling matter. Simply that, in my head, I think I shall always picture you wearing those shackles. Without them, the balance seems all wrong. It's distracting. Sorry. So I decided to restore them for old time's sake. Shall we say, you are a stowaway after all. Ah, Sholmes, he thinks this is funny? Mr. Sholmes, we do appreciate all your assistance. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Not at all, not at all. And though it's a little late, may I offer my sincere condolences. The loss of your companion is truly heartrending. Hope that you'll be able to fulfill some of his aspirations in his honor. I'm afraid that won't be possible. We shall be disembarking at the next port in Hong Kong. We have to return to Japan and make a full report about everything that's happened. What now? Wait a minute. It's just me that has to go back, isn't it? I mean, I was a stowaway. The terms of his study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice, both Great Britain and Japan. It was to be one lawyer and one assistant. Was to be? In the light of Mr. Asanagi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. Oh no, I don't care for me, but... Poor Susato-san. My dear fellows, the majority of our problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue surely. But there's no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. Qualifications, you say? Any qualifications obtained in your own country will be of little value in Great Britain, I'm afraid. Oh, but anyways, the voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. Yes? Miss Susato, yes? Do you think perhaps I might be able to do it? Ah! But you're not a lawyer, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, unless... Are you studying law? No, I'm not, but... I'm sorry. In that case, I don't think there's even a chance it would work. But as I said, there is still more than a month before we reach English shores. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I have a month in which to study to learn when I must become a lawyer in Great Britain. Mr. Naruhodo? That's ridiculous. Are you seriously suggesting anybody could learn all that in just 40 days? There's only one way to find out. I would work my fingers to the bone, Inspector. Every single day. Will you let me try? And if by the time we reach Great Britain I haven't learned enough to be recognized as a lawyer, I'll take whatever punishment it deemed appropriate. But why put yourself in such a difficult position? For Kazuma, he said that there was something he had to do in Great Britain, and that he would sacrifice anything to make it happen. He was passionate about it. I can't let all that passion just come to nothing. And anyways, it's for my own benefit too. I'll become a lawyer. I have to. What do you say, Miss Susato? I think it's a wonderful idea. Thank you. So, what does our bespectacled inspector friend say? Are you serious? One lawyer and one assistant. The numbers are indisputable. No, it's madness. Yet fascinating, wouldn't you agree? Fascinating? Duty and rules are the dull routine of existence that we all abhor. Give us interest, give us fascination. Speak for yourself. Besides, qualifications are no measure of a man. What matters is his character. And you've witnessed ample evidence of this man's exemplary character today with your own eyes, from the early hours of the morning until this very moment now. Despite contending with the passing of his close companion, despite the accusations of guilt, this man has shown resourcefulness, intelligence, and above all, courage. Very well. I'll think of a clever way to word my report to the Department of Justice. Inspector, after all, I did just make a promise, didn't I? I said that I'd do anything at all to make up for my shortcomings here. Oh, thank you, Inspector. If you'd excuse me, I must pay a visit to the captain's quarters, I think. Need to discuss what to do next and how best to make my report. Are you really prepared to attempt this, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I'm going to try. I wonder, would you consider teaching me what I need to know? Everything about being a lawyer? I would be delighted to help you. I am a judicial assistant after all. Thank you. And, Mr. Naruhodo, I'd like you to take charge of this. What? Me? Are you sure? I'm sure it's what Kazuma-sama would have wanted. His name is Karuma. It's a great sword that's been in the Asagi clan for generations. Very well. I accept. I'll treasure it always. So then, Miss Susato, seems we'll be working together for some time to come yet. It will be an honor, Mr. Naruhodo. And for the next 40 days, I shan't grant you a single minute of freedom. We shall fill every spare moment with study. Yes, that's exactly what I need. But before we begin, I have an earnest favor to ask of you too. Goodness, what is it? Please throw me to the ground 3 times. What? I should never have doubted you. You were Kazuma-sama's closest friend. Of course you would never have done anything to hurt him. That should have been obvious to me from the start. But I allowed suspicion to get the better of me. No matter how upset I was feeling, it was completely unforgivable behavior. No, you were in shock. You just found out Got me stowing away and the cabin door is locked from this side. No, I won't let you make excuses for me. Whatever the circumstances, I should never have thrown you. Not just once, but 5 times? That number keeps creeping up, doesn't it? Please, you must. Just take hold of me and throw me. Do it. Don't even think about it. No, no, no. I don't even know how. Never thrown anyone in my life. Very wise, Mr. Naruhodo. It isn't a skill one acquires without considerable training. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. I observed your throwing technique several times. With great interest. I confess, I was most impressed. When did you see that? I presume that would be the form of Japanese wrestling. Oh, well, in a way. It's not wrestling, but my own interpretation of an ancient jiu-jitsu technique. Apparently it's called the Susato takedown. Leaves your head swimming, believe me. How beguiling. I am a practitioner of a combative art myself. I am somewhat accomplished boxer. There he goes, dancing around again. Wonder if you'd be so kind as to instruct me on the technique of your arresting throw. Yes, I'd be honored. Let us not dally. Demonstrate, my dear madam. Oh, of course. No, she's gonna throw me. Are you ready, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry. Hiya! She threw us. As you can see, you throw from the abdomen. Oh yes, arresting indeed, and that is what you term the Susato takedown, is it? Actually, no. That was a Susato squash. Oh my goodness. In my groggy state of consciousness, a scene from an evening recently spent with Kazuma flickered into my mind. Karuma? That's right, it's a prized sword that's been passed down through generations of the Sagi clan. Can't believe you managed to get permission to bring it with you. I mean, taking a katana on a study tour is more than a little irregular, surely. A Japanese man's sword. Man's sword is his soul, Rinosuke. I can't be parted from my katana. I like his things still just flapping. Karuma guides me. I truly believe that. So, its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two. No, not that you would need such compelling. On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain, and I'll sacrifice anything to make it happen. I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down. That important thing you had to do. I still don't know what that was. But I'm going to see the place for myself and work it out. In Great Britain's capital, London. Yay! We got the second mystery done, the second chapter all done. Yay! Crash course candidate. Yes, we're going to save our current progress. Next, the adventure. Oh, that was the adventure of the runaway room. Alright. Oh, episode 3. That is our next one, I guess. Alright. I hope you all enjoyed that. I very much did. I love these games when I get around to it. It just usually takes a lot out on my throat. So, I'm actually not doing too bad right now. We'll see how it goes. But hopefully, I'll get to it again here soon. But yeah, thank you everyone who stopped in to chat and watched the stream. And I'm very happy with how much progress we made. So I will see y'all next time in another episode of The Great Ace Attorney. Bye everyone.